Call to order this meeting of the Park City Board of Education today, February 13th at 3:30 p.m. We'll start with pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will now entertain a motion to move to closed to discuss the character of professional competence or physical and mental health of an individual.
I make a motion to move to closed.
Second. Okay, Nick, you approve yet? Wendy?
Yes.
Okay, I also agree. We'll move it to close and then return at 4 for the regular schedule.
Okay, we will move on to the regular, we'll go on to the consent agenda. Actually, 3.01. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the regular session minutes of January 16th, travel requests, course approval, contracts, land trust amendment, for Trailside, personnel information, January check register, and then board revenues and expenditures for January 23rd.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as stated.
Second. Okay, do we have any questions on any of the items on the consent agenda?
No.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda as stated, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. We'll move on to employee group reports. Mary, would you like to join us?
Good evening, everyone. We are all looking forward to the upcoming February break. As we prepare for the upcoming school year, PCA sent out a survey with the options for the calendar that you're presented with. Of those options, teachers definitely favored option B. Thank you for being willing to allow us to implement an emergency remote day only after we exhaust both the March and the May possible makeup snow days. And I know that we'll be talking about that calendar tonight, so thank you. We are keeping a close eye on a couple of bills. 285 would directly affect associations and make it so that we will not be able to collaborate with all of you. So we encourage anyone to write their representative. I believe in Summit County, that would be Kara Birkland, and ask them to vote no, as it would hurt our ability to work with all of you. House Bill 251 is also of interest, since it would allow employees to come back to work at a school district after retirement immediately after. House Bill, keeping an eye also on House Bill 261 on equity, House Bill 269, which was of interest on the posting the 10 commandments in our schools, and House Bill 29, which affects literacy materials in schools. These are just a few of these bills as we continue to monitor them as they progress. So as always, thank you for your continued collaboration and support.
What was the first bill you mentioned?
The first one is House Bill 285.
285, okay.
That's good. That one again, that's good.
So that one directly affects teachers unions, teachers associations.
Payroll deduction.
It's about payroll deduction. It also makes sure that we have to certify our membership with a third party that we have to pay for out of our budget, which we don't really have much of a budget to be able to pay for something like that every year. So the payroll deduction is a big one. So it's
So we would ban payroll deduction?
Correct.
For this?
Yeah. Complete.
Basically, it's an attack on the situation. This came up like 10, 12 years ago,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
I think never got passed.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, that.
It's fine. Okay, yeah, I,
Sorry, I'm just trying to help moving along. Welcome, thanks for having us again. I want to echo the chants for, we appreciate that ESPs were included in the calendar preferences. We got a lot of positive response because they don't always include it, and they felt really valued to be included, and they overwhelmingly also voted for calendar B. Membership has been fairly quiet. We're working on a few things, and we're just always happy to have the opportunity to help both sides, the district and our members, to really kind of create a productive, positive work environment. USEA has also been at the Capitol. We have someone there every day of the legislative session. I've taken 2 personal days off to be up there. Met with House Chair Schultz last Friday, and we have also been working on, I didn't have time to write down all the bills because it was a crazy day, but stipends for future educators, also the HB 251 on retirement, being able to come back to work
after retirement. And a lot on HB 285, I'll add. So it's titled Labor Union Amendments. The payroll deduct is kind of been pushed to the side right now, but the having to pay for our own, why am I blanking on the word that are, they have to go on the 285, reference, thank you. For PCCEA, where we charge minimally, it would wipe us out within the first election. They're estimating, I mean, some of the bigger districts, they're saying it would cost $30,000 every 5 years to recertify with a third party. It's very purposeful. The other point I wanted to make is we will not be allowed to talk about association business on public property, period. So that means no meeting after school, outside of the building. It is very specifically geared towards school employees. They've actually taken out most of the other groups it was going to affect and pretty much just left in education. So that is what, that's why we have to be up there and advocating so that we can continue to help our employees to feel heard and resolve problems. And so
Maybe we just do
appreciate.
it where we have the meetings.
Pardon me? Your house?
Yeah, this house, my house, to do a little vacation, roadshow.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's a big season, it's a big year to be up at the Capitol and working on things, so.
Love these guys. They always come up with best stuff, right? It's like every year you're just blown away by the genius.
And they were really honest, Representative Schultz, he was like, if it doesn't pass this year, it'll be back next year.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, they're determined to pass this, it's happened in other states. We've had other governors come and meet with Governor Cox to push this agenda, it's not from him.
Wait, before you go,
Please.
what were you nominated for?
So I think most of you know, in April, I was awarded ESP of the Year for the state of Utah. And so that put me up for NEA ESP of the Year, and I have made it to the top 5.
Wow.
Find out March 23rd is the award ceremony in Las Vegas.
So we can go to Vegas.
There will be a live link, I'm sure, people, it's a pretty big deal.
Yes, it's a huge deal.
I did not ever consider myself that I was gonna make it this far. I think I out my contract next year if I win, which I was not prepared for, but,
Yeah.
because I go on tour.
Wow.
Across America.
Well, we're so proud of you.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
love
congratulations.
what I get to do here and at the state level. I also just became Secretary Treasurer of the Utah School Employees Association. So I just love that I get to do all of this with you all, so thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for
having
Okay, you want to go student government?
Alright, so on February 3rd, we had our wonderful, it turned out really good. Our decorations team did a Fire and Ice theme. And there are a bunch of people whose dates dressed up as, one dressed up as fire and one dressed up as ice. So we got the students to kind of play into that theme. And yeah.
I'm picturing Inside Out, though, so many feelings.
And I know that in the last board meeting, online days came up for doing snow days or replacing some snow days. And I decided to sort of student body about that. And there were really two sides to the student body on that. There were a bunch who were in favor of it. And there are also some that were not in favor of it. The kids who were not in favor of it was like, said basically that they're gonna go skiing anyways and they would not participate in the online day, but that's just what happens.
Right.
Yeah, so,
They were honest.
yeah,
They were honest.
yeah, so
And I
there's
think
really
that was
two
some of the
sides
concern.
to the student body about it. Yeah,
but it's
great that you asked, because then we have more information.
Yeah, but there's a group of students who are totally in favor of it, so.
Thank
Save
you.
on traffic.
All right, Stacy.
So I brought you some slides
Yeah.
this time, and we're gonna learn a little about our portrait of a graduate and how what we're doing in elementary has one section in our Friday enrichments that's very aligned to portrait of a graduate. So this little slide that's up here, you can see that along the blue there's a little M that stands for mastery. The yellow has an A by it that stands for autonomy, and the green has a P by it and that stands for purpose. Each of those little circles are one of the dimensions of portrait of a graduate. So when you see it all listed out, it can be a little overwhelming, but under mastery, the very first one is academics. But there are lots of other elements in portrait of a graduate, like civic and financial responsibility, service, lots of things. And so I'm going to show you a little bit about how that is embedded in our Friday morning enrichment in the elementaries. So in our elementary Friday enrichment, there are 4 strands, and each elementary school is doing one of the strands. And that strand stays at that elementary school for 6 weeks, and then one grade is doing that strand that week. So all the kinders are doing it, all the firsts are doing it, all the seconds. And the teachers that are teaching the specialties are the ones that are running this, and then the regular classroom teachers in that grade use that additional time for professional learning and collaboration and working on student performance. So on the next slide, you can see the 4 strands that there are and how they rotate through the schools. So there's community partners and service, that was new this year. Experience days, portrait of a graduate is one of the strands, and also community building. Next slide. In the Friday enrichment, they particularly under the portrait of a graduate strand, they've identified these areas: connector, innovator, maker, and analyzer, which we use in our district. But you can see under mastery, autonomy, and purpose, so all those little blue, yellow, all those little buttons under mastery, you can see the first one is academic mastery. Wellness is under there, civic and financial and economic literacy. If you skip over to the 3rd column, purpose has honesty, integrity, and responsibility. Down toward the bottom, it has service and respect. Those are the areas. Portrait of a graduate at the state level is built out all the way with competencies and rubrics for every one of those little buttons for every grade. And one of the cool things that I got to do previously was work on the team with USBE. In one summer, we spent 2 weeks and I was building the rubrics with the team for the service component. So I've gotten to have that activity, and that's just one of the places where we are implementing some pieces of portrait of a graduate. So we're doing other things, but that's one piece. The second thing I'd like to bring to your attention tonight is the update of our instructional framework. If you see the colors on there, picture the blue, the green, the pink, the orange. You've seen the instructional framework, often it's on the wall in this room. But you can also see these standards that are here on the wall. These are the Utah effective teaching standards. They've been developed, and we needed to integrate them with our instructional framework. And then the work has to be done for it to also impact our teacher evaluation system. So we've carefully gone through to crosswalk these effective teacher standards, which have the 5 areas, and there's 4 elements under each area. And it was a beautiful thing for me to get my hands really deep and dirty in our instructional framework and crosswalk all of this. So when you look up there, you can see in our blue area, which is our planning area, standards alignment, lesson design, and instructional strategies. That's what we already had. And it turns out that standard 2, element 1, which is content, matches beautifully with our standards alignment. Lesson design matches very closely with learning progressions, which is 2.2, and instructional planning, which is 2.3. So we've gone all the way through our instructional framework, and now we're working closely with human resources. And Craig Jensen is on one of the committees with USBE that's building out the evaluation rubrics. There also has been created effective evidence-based practices that come out of the pedagogical research, like teacher belief in students, effective standards-based instruction, all of that. All of our instructional framework is coordinated with that. That's what those links are that say evidence-based practices. And then teacher and student evidences are also, so this will be connected and linked, and that's part of the work that we're working on. So if you scan forward, we went from the blue, the green, the pink, and the orange, which culture has shifted. And that's something that's happening that's very exciting in education now. School culture used to be about, are we nice to each other in the classroom? Are we safe? But now having a culture of learning where we are really set up and we have, in addition to a respectful learning environment, good relationships, safety and organization, but we have the ability to bring the perspective as learners and work harder on developing that in our students. So we have that. And then the last area that we're adding to our instructional framework is our professionalism or professional responsibility. It always was in our evaluation tool, but beautifully in the standard 5 under professional responsibility, along with ethics and obeying the laws and knowing what we can and can't do in our classrooms. Because before, professional ethics used to be a little bit more black and white, but now the guidelines are very strict. So we're making sure that's in our instructional framework so that we can talk about it, make sure that our teachers are prepared and that they know what they need to do. Also, communication between teachers and to community and family is also part of this, as well as continuous professional learning, which is where PLCs or professional learning communities are embedded. So this work is crosswalking everything so that we can all be on the same page. That's some of the work that we're doing.
Yeah,
Any
nice job.
Okay.
Not the answer.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Mr. Tanner.
Good afternoon, it's the board operations update for the 15th of February, 2024. In buildings and grounds, Todd Hanson and his team have been very effective during our recent snowstorms, so thank you to him and his team for that. All of our construction projects continue on time and budget at all locations. The FY25 capital budgeting process is nearing completion, and the ops team is busy prioritizing $7.4 million in requests. Our master athletic facility plan work is well underway, and we have MHTN is here tonight to present their work to date. And ops and finance continue to meet with Parks and Municipal and Basin Recreation to begin a rewrite of the interlocal agreement to reflect contemporary needs of each outfit. Transportation, Rich Eddington and his team continue to provide exemplary service during recent storms, so thank you to him and his team for that. Transportation is approaching full staffing on our contract routes for the first time in 5 years.
Yeah.
We got 3 drivers are newly operational, and additional applicant was interviewed today. With new drivers, our office staff and mechanics are reducing their driving, and drivers have had the flexibility to have sick and personal days finally, and morale is up accordingly. As a result of the improved staffing, transportation restored their service to Deer Valley routes 7 Monday. And just a reminder to the parents that the Zonar bus tracking service is fully operational, and instructions on the website or on the website in the transportation section. Child Nutrition Services, John Hopkins is with us here tonight, and his team are fully staffed and moving along very well, he mentioned. They're putting together some new recipes to take advantage of some of the USDA stockpiles of diced chicken and sliced turkey that they have. Sounds appetizing. Eckerson Hill Middle School hot meal production in the new kitchen is progressing very well. And John and his team tonight in the fee structure discussion are proposing a 25% increase for elementary and Eckerton Middle School meals from $2.90 to $3.15, and Treasure Mountain High School from $3.40 to $3.65. Also a 10% increase in breakfast is his proposal based on inflation costs. And Human Resources, Craig and his team have been working through integrating the EMS job study fully into the HR processes. Craig will be, and his team will be attending job fairs for the next 3 days throughout Utah. They are seeking to bring the best in price to teaching Park City schools. And as Stacy mentioned, Human Resources working with teaching and learning and aligning teacher evaluations with state standards and streamlining the process. Security, our zero-wise installation is approaching completion. We have training for our admin team tomorrow, testing on the 20th, and we hope to be fully operational by the 25th of February. And after action review of the hold that we had on the 2nd of February at the high school in Treasure Mountain will also take place at tomorrow's admin meeting. I met again with Summit County Sheriff's Office to discuss House Bill 61 grant funded Eckerton Middle School SRO position for the fall of 2025. And Trailside Elementary will host a law enforcement only SWAT and active shooter exercise at the school during break on the 20th and 24th of February. And there's going to be a morning graphic up on the website for Treasure Mountain and the district website news page. And an update to the district's emergency response and communication planning is underway. Any questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, Patricia, I've got my things up here. Great, so as always, our collective work is to ensure safety, achievement, and opportunity for all of our students. And tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about recognition, standard response protocols, parents as partners panel, which is an evening presentation for elementary parents coming up, our K-12 wellness plan, our Inspiring and Supporting All Students Committee, and a little bit of the calendar overview just to give you a quick rundown. I will go very quickly because I know we have a master athletics plan presentation that's going to be really good. That was the highlight for the night. I'm just a placeholder. Well, got to take some call or whatever, right? So our mission is to inspire and support all students equitably to achieve their academic and social potential. And the vision for the district is that we are student-centered with a focus and emphasis on whole child, which is that all of our students are safe, supported, engaged, challenged, and healthy. And when those things don't happen, we have lots of responses that we take, and we'll talk about those too. But recognition, each month we have celebrations up here that kind of run before the board meeting, and accolades are highlighted. But I did want to recognize Jen Bramson, we already talked about, but that was really exciting to hear that she had earned that top 5 designation, because it's a huge organization and that really is something meaningful. And then we were so proud of Roger for his Principal of the Year recognition. He will also go on to kind of a national competition, which is quite something. Ben Ray has been named the Teacher of the Year by the Utah Geological Association, and Molly Forster is our nomination for the Technology Teacher of the Year. So kind of exciting. We also had 7 of the 25 teachers in Utah, 7 of our renewals of national board certification. So out of our district, which is not the biggest district in Utah, we have a huge percentage of educators that keep up their ongoing professional learning, and they try to hit that highest standard. So these teachers will be recognized on February 26th at the Capitol, and they have a whole morning of programming and photo ops and all kinds of cool things. So we're really proud of these 7 teachers, and we had about 6 last year too, so it's a great group. From a safety and prevention standpoint, we are so fortunate in our district. We do have resources that many other districts don't have. We have a district wellness coach, and that's a person who's a school psychologist who is really working on making sure that he is liaising with the county, with different nonprofit organizations, and with all of our school principals to make sure that the wellness plan is being implemented, but also to make sure that we're following all the best practices with investigations and behavioral supports. We have school counselors, we have social workers, we have behavior technicians. We do have a school psychologist that does the testing for students if they're having some challenges with acquiring a content area. We have internal assessment processes. We've got our school resource officers. We have school and parking safety officers, and we even have hallway monitors. So we've done a lot to bolster. When I go and visit other districts, they don't have all these same things. And I've even been able to walk building to building on the campus and go into a number of buildings without anybody stopping me or asking who I am. Kind of surprising. And that was right down the hill, you know? So we have a lot in place that I think we sometimes forget. We also have a wonderful nonprofit partnership, a free resource to our parents. It's called parentguidance.org. There's a little medallion on each one of the websites. And if you are having any kind of parenting struggle, my child is a bully, my child's being bullied, my child is isolating, any kind of question you may be having, it gives you a quick little 5-minute video of something that can at least give you a best practice to try at home. So we try to partner with resources as well. When there are incidents that don't match our expectations or norms, which do happen, we like the February 2nd, all of a sudden there's an alert from the police department and says there's something going on across the street. You probably want to, keep all the kids inside while we handle that. Now that could be anything. It could be a moose. That could be elk. That could be somebody getting sick in a hallway. That could be a lot of different things, but in that case, it was something across the street. But when this happens, students are attended to first. We make sure everybody's inside, we make sure they're safe. But if there's a behavioral incident, there are consequences. There's a redirection, there's reteaching, there's parent contact. Our staff collaborates, we problem solve, we look at the tiered system of supports. We do look at our data trends. We look for things that we need training or retraining on. And then we always inform our partners, our parents as partners. It's really important. We do have a standard response protocol, and every year the schools have training on this, but the standard response protocol, it gets updated. So the language sometimes changes, and there was a language change between 2021 and 2023. So there are now 5 categories. There's a hold, which is what we experienced on February 2nd. When there's a hold, that's something like the wild animals, a chemical spill, someone sick in the hallway. Any school in America could be under a hold every single day of the school year. Holds are pretty common. We keep you in your classroom, you keep learning, but there might be a delay of the passing time, but you're going to keep up your schoolwork. But there's not an immediate threat to the student in the school. It's just something that we're doing a cleanup, or we just want to keep you in place while something is attended to. The next level is a secure. That means we want everybody inside. We're going to lock the doors. And while there's not an immediate threat to a school, we just want to know where everybody is. We want to take attendance. But again, we're going to keep teaching. We're going to keep doing our work. Things change when it's a lockdown. So when we use the term lockdown, lockdown is a serious term. We don't just throw out, hey, we're in a lockdown. Nope. Lockdown means that we're in our classrooms, we're drawing our shades, the lights are out, we might be in a corner. We're far away from where anybody could get to us. And we actually don't come out of that until a police officer goes through, knocks on the door and does a clearance. So a lockdown is a big deal. That's one where people, get a little nervous because it does mean there's something close by or even in the school. So lockdown is pretty serious. We also have an evacuation process. So if something has happened like a chemical spill where we need everybody to get out, we then call an evacuation and we have a reunification drill where you then get picked up and we contact parents to let them know you're over at the church or we're over across the street. You need to come and check out your student from that location. And then finally, we do have a shelter for like natural disasters like an earthquake or a windstorm, things like that. So these terms are trained in school, all the educators have training every year. Students should know those terms, but a lot of times we immediately jump to lockdown. In our minds, we're worried about things that are happening in the world, and we immediately go to that, and then we get a little panicked. So the idea, though, is if we can start training our community and our parents, there is a parent handbook for this protocol. And all of the schools in Utah use this protocol. So we are all standardized across the state. So that way the police kind of know what we're gonna do because they're aware of this particular protocol. When something doesn't go quite right, like the communication was a little delayed, we felt like with the hold, right? That rumors got out, and that happens sometimes. The kids have their devices and they can get the word out quickly. Part of this protocol actually even has the teachers saying to the kids in the hold are secure. If you have your device and you'd like to contact your family, you could let them know we're still teaching and school is still going on and there's nothing immediately to worry about, but we're in a hold. So we can actually use the kids and their devices for good in getting the word out. So Mike mentioned, he has a whole, look at this. I mean, it's really little, so you can't read it easily, but this is just the idea of what we would go through, which each of the different roles and at what times and at what points communication would happen. So he's working on that with the family and community engagement team, where we're coordinating with emergency services, we're getting messages ready, and we're sending out hold messages for the most part. And once that's a little more firmed up, we'll get it to you as a real draft, where I just wanted you to see that we're indeed working on it. And there are lots of different moving parts to all of these things. With Parents as Partners, I mentioned this on March 20th. We are going to have 2 different parent panel meetings. We're just going to talk about identifying and addressing bullying. Because again, bullying is a problem nationally. We want to tackle it. We don't want kids ever feeling unsafe or uncared about in school. So we're going to talk about what we do when we see bullying, how to prevent bullying, what some of the consequences are for bullying, so we can kind of get parents and kids ready to address that even at the youngest stages. Our wellness plan is moving right along, and this was a teacher-led committee that developed our framework and our monthly themes. And we also are in the process of looking at a supplemental curriculum that would kind of bolster these themes. And that program is called Move This World. And the lessons have been implemented in 45 states and 9 countries. So it's been around for about 12 years. So it's something that 3 to 5 minutes as an activity with a little dialogue, but keeps kids thinking about, good breathing practices, mindfulness, being a good friend, all those good characteristics that we care about. Our Inspiring and Supporting All Students Committee continues to work. We work on the concepts in the educational equity policy. Based on some of the legislation that's passed, we might look at the naming of the things we're doing, and it'll be renamed Student Success most likely, but we of course have that supporting all students in our theme anyway. So we still have the same goals that we've had. We had an external assessment that was done, and that's in draft format right now, and the team is reviewing it. From that draft, they are creating the priorities in each of the areas that are the pillars of the policy, and then working on action steps. So that's their key work for the year. As we have been working as a system, you heard all the great academic work that teaching and learning is doing, but we are looking, let me see if we have the image of the kids there, Tricia. There we go. With our students, I don't know if Zach would agree with this or not, but would you say AI is your reality?
For some students.
For some students, or at least realizing there are tools out there that are giving you kind of prompts or supports. We have kids who are tech savvy, who know, AI exists and can kind of influence how projects are going. This generation of students are going to be the most educated generation in history. But you are hearing those different Monday or the Friday morning activities. All of this is designed for kind of this new generation. How do we get kids linked to what is a cool career? What's a way I can demonstrate my talent and my art? What are different ways I can build different parts of my brain, right? To be creative and to be to look at the things that maybe we didn't even know existed. back when I was in school. So we've got a lot of work to do as a system and not just sustaining what has school always been, but transforming, right, to really meet the needs of the kids. We currently have an AUP, acceptable use policy that's been updated and reviewed. It doesn't have a lot of detail about AI as of yet, so we're just doing the learning. So at this point, our educators are still learning a lot about it, and we'll learn a lot about it into the next school year. And then we'll see how things can roll out and where teachers can have students use the critical thinking to learn about how AI works so that before they go to college, they'll have a good understanding of what to use or not use AI for. If you've ever seen AI make a mistake, it's really interesting. They call them hallucinations, so that you can get some really funny data out of these tools. So we have to teach students not just to generate something out of that without reading it, because it's not the best practice, but it also can lead to some biases and some not as accurate. It can only spit out what has gone in right, at some point. So it's an interesting thing working with AI. February 15th, this is just a little side note, but February 15th is College Visit Day. So this is a state program that we participate in, and the state colleges come on that day and they meet with 11th graders in the morning. And just our current stats, about 20% of our student population in the 11th grade will be first generation college students. So we maintained about that 20%. About 85% of our kids do go immediately to 2 or 4 year schools. About 40% of our class does stay in Utah, and over 450 applications from seniors have already gone in to universities across Utah. So kind of interesting data and stats. But on the 15th, we definitely hope our 11th graders will go to that presentation. You heard a little bit about teaching and learning and everything Stacy is working on, and you will hear more about the strategic plan in April. We should have our draft done by then. 3 concerts this week at the Eccles. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 6:30 is the concert start times. Tonight is choir. Our Sterling Scholars finalists, we have runners, kids running in every category. They'll be announced on Friday, and then they go in to do a whole big interview cycle, and they perform in March. And then the winners of our region are announced in March. Our students had the chance to perform at the Utah Music Educators Association conference and did so well. Our debate kids are doing unbelievably. And despite the snow, we are going to see spring sports starting in the next couple weeks. All right, for the calendar, both employee groups, we're pretty happy with option B. So option B is the one we're bringing back to you for tonight. It doesn't really change much. The kids come back on the 20th. The teachers come back about 4 days before that. Still have Labor Day. We have the 2-day fall break. We have a November 1st professional learning day. We've still got our Thanksgiving break. We've still got our 2-week winter break, which is later this year, just based on the way the calendar falls. You've got your Martin Luther King Day, your February break, our March 14th, which is a snow day makeup if needed, or a PD day. And then the day before Memorial Day at the very end of the year would be a snow makeup day or a PD day. Last day of school and graduation would be June 6th of 2025. So pretty simple. And then just a reminder that we do have a great data and stats tab right on our website where you can kind of look at, how many students do we have enrolled, what's our economically disadvantaged. And then we do have this chart up to the right as well. How many incidents are we noticing and what kinds of incidents are we noticing in the student groups? Because that's how we help do preventive programming. Excellent. It's a lot of information in the short amount.
Any questions on that for the superintendent? Okay, we're gonna skip around a little bit. You're 5, is that right? Okay, so do you wanna, make our statement first on,
What we just said.
and then we'll do that, and then we're gonna go, if you guys are okay with it, we'll go into the calendar decision, policies really quickly, and then we'll get into facilities update and master plan. So that way we have all the votes and everything done for the department.
Sounds good. Yeah. I'm back.
Nah, all good.
Drop her off. So the board collaborated on a statement that we wanted to make in support of the Granite School District, and I'm just gonna share this with you. The Park City School District and its Board of Education stand in solidarity with the Granite School District Board of Education and joins the Joint Legislative Committee as well as the Governor's Office in its statement supporting and championing overall health, wellness, and well-being of Utah students. As elected and appointed officials, it is incumbent upon all of us to model care for every child and to create the conditions for safety within the learning environment. It is unconscionable for an elected state official to demean and bully a child on social media and endanger the safety and well-being of Utah's students. This behavior is deserving of formal censure up to and including removal from office as a member of the Utah State Board of Education.
Thank you very much. All right, so we're gonna just bounce around here a little bit. Dr. Bill Day just gave an update on the amendment to the school calendar. Obviously, that is something that has had the support of both our ESPs as well as PCEA. So I will entertain a motion on 7.1 to adopt the 24-25 school calendar as amended and posted in board docs.
I make a motion to adopt the school calendar as posted in board docs.
Okay, do we have any discussion around the changes or calendar? Okay, all those in favor of adopting, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Quickly on policies, we have two policies for posting. We have policy 6,000, modification of district property, and policy 10126, school fees. I'll entertain a motion to post both of those policies.
I make a motion to post both policies as stated.
Okay, do we have any comments or questions on those two policies? Okay, all those in favor of posting policy 6,000 10126, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have two policies for adoption, policy 7086, contracts for school resource officer services, and policy 9110, acceptable use policy. I'll entertain a motion to adopt both of those policies.
I make a motion to adopt both policies as stated.
Okay, do we have any public feedback on those? Okay, any questions or comments on those two policies?
No, I'm really grateful for that school resource.
Yeah.
No, thanks.
All right, all those in favor of adopting these two policies, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, perfect. Now we will go back to 5.01 facility updates. Mr. Tanner, if you could just give us an update on all of our construction, please.
I'd just like to remind the public that with all the schools, projects have been planned to minimize educational impact, ensure the safety of our students and staff, and then minimize traffic and parking obstruction. We have weekly construction meetings that are being held with the architects, builders, and district staff to ensure timely tactical coordination and decision making. Our owners rep, MOCA, is also conducting bi-weekly owner meetings for important strategic updates and decisions. It's a very exciting time. We're in the spring for our construction projects. You'll see a lot of steel swinging in the air and a lot of vertical going up on our masonry, particularly at the high school. Park City High School is on schedule. Mechanical, electrical, plumbing work, MEP for short, and HVAC work is continuing. Structural steel is being set for roof joists. We had a crane on site all last week, and masonry is complete and topped out for area A. In the interior wall framing, MEP and foundation work is progressing in area A, and electrical switchgear supply contingencies are underway in the event that we are unable to get our electrical switchgear in time for the next school year. Substantial completion is spring of 2025 in that project. After the middle school is on schedule, MEP work for HVAC and fire control systems continue. Masonry work on area A expansion is 75% complete, and you can see the wall going up there in the first structural wing, educational wing that we're putting up. And structural steel is being set for the second floor. Slab and grade preparation and roofing work continues for the gym expansion, and the kitchen was returned to full production on the 2nd of January. We're going to take advantage of the winter break next week, and we'll have a couple cranes on site here at Ecker swinging structural steel and yeah, getting verticals in place and working on some of the roofs. So a lot of work will be there next week. Substantial completion there also spring of 2025. Jeremy is on schedule. MEP, fire system, HVAC, security backbone, data, interior weapons and trim outs continue in areas A and B. Interior and exterior architectural element installation continues. Paint, tile, grid, ceiling, interior glass, millwork, cabinetry, wall trim outs, and tack wall installations are all nearing completion. So these are mostly cleanup items as the building is starting to really firm up and getting ready for delivery. Substantial completion there, summer of 2024 is our guarantee. McPolin is also on schedule. MEP, interior rough-in and finish, HVAC, security backbone, data, fire system work is 95% complete. Our work continues on pipe installation, wall painting, exterior architectural elements, ceilings, millwork, cabinetry, interior glass and flooring. Again, these are trim out items towards the end of the project. Substantial completion is the summer of 2024. Parley's Park is also on schedule. Ongoing work continues on interior framing in the existing kindergarten and multi-purpose and music rooms. Underground utility relocation, sewer rerouting and connection, and MEP work. Substantial completion there will be just after the school year starts in October of 2024, but that will be just the exterior items that are remaining, the interior we're getting for the kids. Trailside Elementary, our coordination has already started with the county. USBE project numbers is under application, and we're getting ready to bring our engineering package to the county for additional use permitting. That'll be going pretty soon. Design work is continuing. We had a session this morning, and we anticipate construction to begin as soon as the kids walk out of school at the end of June, or in June. Anticipated substantial completion is the summer of 2025. Just a reminder, a construction summary in layman's terms is in narrative form is posted weekly on the district website. We have JV from our owner's rep, Mocha, if you have any in-depth questions you'd like to ask him. Soil mitigation, phase 2 of the renewal project will happen over winter break from the 19th to 23rd of February, and starting at 7 in the morning through daylight hours, which are expanding a couple minutes every day. A notification graphic was posted to the news section of the district website. The EPA and DEQ will be on site throughout the operation. Pre and post operational testing will ensure no elevated contaminant levels are inside of Treasure Mountain Junior High. And any remaining soil will be removed over the spring break. Spring break, the 15th through 19th of April. So, any questions?
Excellent. Thank you very much. Any questions, Mr. Tanner? Pretty comprehensive. Thank you. All right. We will move on to 5.02 PC Athletic Master Plan.
Hello, it's good to see you all. Joke with Roger, this is about the only time I dust off the suit coat. So I should have worn a puffer vest or something, Park City related. Just as a refresher, Scott Lader with MHG Architects, I'm a principal architect of the firm. Also brought Lauren Laisman, who's our community planner, who's been working on the project. So, as you remember, we were involved in the original master plan for the district. It's been about 2 years ago at this point. And that's led to the implementation of some of the projects you're seeing going on. Where we're also fortunate to be involved in the Park City and Echo projects. So we appreciate the working relationship with you all. And I just push forward. Awesome. So what we want to talk about today is the holistic process that we're starting to go through on the athletic master plan. And what we've done is starting in about November, we were brought on board and appreciate Mike and his team coming to the table with ideas about where you were looking to go and kind of build off that work that you've done to date. We've gone through a process of evaluating all of your existing facilities, and we're towards the end now of where we've done our analysis and are really in the summarization phase of the project. From a high level, kind of 50,000 foot view, there's a lot of positives in the Park City area. You have great access to natural resources. You have great connections to trail systems. There's fabulous locations for your facilities. You're seeing on the screen a map that indicates your adjacency within each one of these structures to some improvements in areas that could be connected. Working with Mike, we know there's some ongoing conversations with both Basin Rec and Park City Municipal, and we would recommend that you leverage those opportunities to do either shared ventures or joint ventures as you move forward into the funding of these projects. A lot of information probably at this scale would be hard to digest, but we've evaluated where activities are happening. And what that led us to really understand is there needs to be a comprehensive solution, particularly at the Kearns campus, to look at how all of these 5 focused areas, community, sanctioned club, outdoor rec, and physical education could live within that space. And at the Kearns campus, then that could be taken out at various scales to either Eckerd or to other properties. We're going to talk about the survey results, which were very enlightening.
Yeah, so we had 40 respondents, that took the survey, and, we're just gonna kind of briefly, go over just some of the key points that we found. So a couple, 78% of the survey respondents disagreed that athletic facilities and spaces meet our current and future needs. But then on the flip side, you know, we've got 95% agree that facilities should be multifunctional to allow for maximum use. We asked some open-ended questions, and what is the most immediate need for your facility was one that we found. Most common response was field space, really more exterior outdoor space. Indoor fields, locker rooms, gym facilities, and baseball facilities. We then asked, what is your blue sky vision for athletics and activities in the district? This one, once again, top results were indoor facilities, turf fields, comprehensive athletic support, outdoor lighting, and continuing that collaboration of community facilities.
These surveys were broadcast out to your athletics team, both at kind of a teacher and coach level. We worked with Jamie to understand his needs and then kind of sent that out to the group. And I think it's indicative that, you know, those top 2, the indoor and turf, are really 1 and 2, however we asked the question.
All right, and then from kind of all the survey results and conversations that we had with the steering committee, we came up with kind of some guiding principles for the project. We came up with level the playing field, student focused, community centered, and multifunctional and diverse. From there, we kind of added some goals for each of the guiding principles and then attached actionable strategies for each of those. So we did that for each individual guiding principle.
This is a lot of information, especially at this scale to digest. I think it is in your board docs. We'd love any feedback if you're seeing anything that we're missing as we're going from kind of those high level goals to actionable items. Those action items really become where financial commitments to the line in the road. So with all this information in hand, we begin to look at, okay, what can we do and what should we recommend for both the properties surrounding Kearns campus, but more particularly the high school. What you're seeing on the screen represents one option potential. There are others that we have in mind as well, but the 2 that have really risen to the top are taking the existing gymnasium spaces and converting those, remodeling those to account for some needs. You're very undersized in terms of your capacity. We know when there's rivalry games, those spaces really, there's not the good bump and buzz. It's kind of that really aggressive bump and buzz. And we see there's an opportunity to actually relocate the music suite to the east of the property, adjacent to Eccles, and free up some additional space on the backside. That would allow some connection on the northern side to Dozier Field, which you'll see in just a minute. In this scenario, and in a lot of the scenarios, see that there's an option for a standalone field house. We typically see that as a size, you know, roughly 40 by 40 yards. It could grow based on needs. And really, that's really could be the first piece of the puzzle to get your teams practicing indoors in inclement weather. As we look ahead at other options and other possibilities, part of the master plan that we did previously was looking at how the building could expand to the east and really take some of the older portions of the building and take those offline and rehab some of those spaces. I think this one has good support from Roger and his team, because what this does is it frees up the center of the building for something else. We would propose that the heart of the building now becomes more of a performing arts or kind of academic wing that could be expanding and using those existing gym volumes to your to your kind of capacity within those spaces. And then taking a new athletic field house, enlarging that with a new main gym, auxiliary gym and some support functions. For sure, this would be the more costly of the two options. And we can talk about budget here in a minute, but roughly we'll say on the field house side, you're looking at a $10 to $15 million project. As we get into remodel options and refresh, that could be under the 20 to 25. Something like this could be as much as 70 to 75, $85 million, depending on the level of complexity. We really have seen an escalation in construction market recently, where we would think that, the inflation rates would tamp down growth. Utah has kind of ridden that wave to the point that we stay pretty consistent. And there's also not a lot of influx of new talent in the construction industry, and so you're getting kind of a gradual increase in prices still, which is unfortunate. As we look at the Kearns campus as a whole, there's one kind of salient point that we want to make, and it's item 4 on there with the future of Treasure Mountain. What we're kind of calling this now is the Treasure Mountain Sports Complex. We would imagine and propose that the existing building would be demolished, and this would make way for a number of turf fields, both for soccer, baseball, and softball. There would be the proposal to bring tennis onto the campus, which is currently not located on site. And then have a stronger connection to the North 40 area. That North 40 would be preserved as a sod or grass field for use by your teams, but then they have the ability, again, in inclement weather or other opportunities to play on those larger fields. You're seeing some proposed rework with the parking, the Comstock connection, as well as a new Lucky John connection that would help facilitate traffic in and out of the site and also improve your overall parking capacity. In this scenario, the proposal is to leave Dozier right where it's at and strike a balance of making some improvements to that existing location. That could be anywhere from a $10 to $15 million project, depending on the level of complexity, depending on what you're putting. There's a great need for some accessible restrooms and concession facilities within that space. Now that the sewer line is relocated out of that area, you can adjust your seating on the visitor side. So there's some opportunities and growth potential there. In this scenario, you're seeing number 2 flagged as that larger addition to Park City High School. Again, that blue sky vision of where you would want to go over the next 5 to 10, 15 years. The secondary option, you can almost think of these as phases too, could be that you relocate Dozier. Again, we're not proposing that other than saying that is an opportunity if you felt that it was more of a benefit to co-locate Dozier Field, the parking associated with that, and Treasure Mountain Athletic Sports Complex in one area. This would for sure free up the space where the current Dozier building is, or the current Dozier Field is. We understand that there's some 3-story apartment complexes that are coming online pretty quick here, and that's going to restrict some of the views there. You have some aging trees in that area that would have to be repurposed. And so thinking of that number 1 space as potentially a shared joint use park space. It could be a connection area for trails, it could be pickleball courts, it could be a number of non-traditional high school athletic areas. So as we shift and look at where we're going with this, we've just started to work with Randy and identify cost and try to put pen to paper on what we would foresee as some actionable items. You have the list, we're also trying to identify what is kind of those small reaches, the action items for 3 to 5 years. What are the larger concepts that you want to keep on the table, but not necessarily do immediately? So we're in the process of wrapping up our report, and based on Mike's direction, we're going to give you a formal presentation that you can use to go out to the public, to have open forum sessions, get a little bit more feedback based on these ideas, because they are ideas at this point, and really take some of these ideas to fruition as you shift into design. So that's kind of where we're at. We'd love to answer any questions that you may have about anything you're seeing.
Thank you. This is great. It's super easy to see. I have a couple questions about the sports complex.
Sure.
And I'm just visually, I'm seeing, it looks like 2 fields and a baseball and softball field or a track. What's the sport complex included? Is that a
Correct.
yellow building, more yellow with the green window, like, is that an indoor?
So right now, what the proposal will be where those all are outside.
Okay.
There are turf surface though, that would allow, very similar to your Dozier, that you could plow the snow off that if needed.
Okay.
And have two soccer lacrosse fields running east to west, and then the softball and baseball on the opposite side.
Right, and that, those are the tennis courts.
Correct, yeah.
Okay,
The red building in the middle, and it alternates on the other scheme would be a support building, lockers, concessions,
okay.
ticketing offices, whatever you need for that area.
And then the new addition then, that's number 2, is that you go back up to that field house of the 1 and 2 options above. Right, so number 2, it's so confusing.
You're,
Burns campus, concept 1, level 1, okay?
uh-huh,
The picture of number 2, the pink, that says the new addition, that would be either option 1 or option 2 from above.
it would be option 2 from the
Got it.
planning.
Okay,
The expansion of the music suite. It is an idea, but really you're thinking of that as the remodel of the existing spaces. The
Okay.
number 2 in that concept 1, level 1 is a new main gymnasium, a new turf field house,
so the
auxiliary
new
gym,
field
and
house
some
there,
other sports
Okay.
spaces.
okay.
Then where's Echoes Theater?
Echoes would remain in its current location.
Okay.
There is one advantage of this is that this new building could address some of the structural integrity issues with the Echoes wall. It would also create a new secure entry point that could be managed better by your teams for activities. So that you enter into that Echoes lobby or the sports lobby, and you're kind of separated from the rest of the high school.
I think you said the field house was 40 by 40.
Correct, 40 by 40 yards.
Is that big enough for effective practice for sports like football?
Football, it gets squishy, just admittedly. 40 by 40 yards gives you an infield size. So you can do infield practice. We would imagine a series of nets and the drapes that would bring down to subdivide that. Jamie would love if that got bigger. There is a cost premium associated with that.
I think you said 40 survey responses. Did I hear that right? 40? I mean, I'd love to hear more feedback. That seems like a very small number to me. The other question I had is,
Internal people.
It was
So-
just your high school athletics teams moving.
okay.
Yeah.
Are all these fields envisaged to be turf?
They are, yeah.
And that's the request from the sports teams?
It is, yeah.
Isn't that, I'm a little surprised.
It actually
I'm a
works.
turf skeptic, but
And
that's beside the point.
It actually works legislatively too, because they have a bill on turf over grass, House Bill 11. Bill addresses the use of lawn and turf for water efficiency.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's more so you can scrape it.
Yeah, no,
It
I
is.
in an environment like this, I understand. Yeah, I think it's.
And the idea is to put those functions close to the North 40 field so that there is an option. You know, we're showing 2 turf fields running east to west. That could be 1 turf and 1 sod field. There's a lot of varieties within this. But we have heard strong voice that baseball and softball should be turf. And this again is from your teams. Just given your seasons, I think last year you only had 2 games that happened up here. So it's a definite.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Mhm. So just clarity, 40 surveys for this for the internal team, but that's after the community-wide survey, which indicated as the top choice, some sort of athletic complex.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, what I really liked about this was, we didn't actually have a talk about this, but the guiding principles were the same, right? So the guiding principles came through the community separately from what
Not
they
the
found.
40, that came from the
Right.
bigger.
Yeah, so the same things, though, the leveling the playing field, getting the Title I things taken care of, the student focus, and I love the multifunctional verse and the community center. So that's really, I really liked how you framed all that, because that's exactly what the community said too. So really our athletic teams and the leadership of the athletic system are hearing everything that our parents and everybody else are saying, and that is what they're reflecting. So you're not gonna get a different feeling other than when it comes to the price tag, right? That's where do you really want to say like that?
Different opinions, but they hear us nothing. Yeah, out of interest, what surface would the tennis court be?
We would propose a post-tensioned court system, a concrete court system with an overlay. And you have those around the valley here, and they held up very well.
Are these, I mean, I guess it's all about cost, but is the vision that those will be lit?
There is discussion and cost associated with it. I would say it's a hefty price tag to like those. It's give a cheat sheet. I think it is.
Potentially some community pushback on when the lights are on.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at 180,000 per mast, so it's definitely not cheap. We have in the past looked at lighting baseball fields, and it becomes very cost prohibitive very quick. But like a soccer field, a baseball or a lacrosse field, that's 4 masts and roughly $500,000, $750,000. Again, it's a priority level, probably this discussion, this board level, of where you want to go and, you know, where you want to allocate funds in the future.
Right. Feel like the funding isn't holding up.
Yeah.
What are question for Jill and Mike, I guess. What are kind of next steps in getting buy-in or participation from Base Rec and Park City? So I think any of these iterations, with maybe the exception of the school edition, would and should be community shared use facilities, right? So instead of us going it alone and saying, okay, the school district is going to build athletic facilities and raise taxes, what's the kind of roadmap to do this as a partnership? Or has there been any discussions with staff or those entities? Or
I think the desire is there. I do think that what has expressed to us that they're trying to have a field business. They're not trying to attract tournament traffic to town. So I don't know if that's a permanent shift in direction for them. Or if the results of the recent denial of the referendum that the one space the valley expansion made a change that stance of that. So I think there is room to discuss. I think, especially if we can somehow put some of that in the group, and that's where we're short. It's not just church space, it's church space that's protecting elements. I think there will be an appetite from both Base and Rec and Parks and Municipal. Base and Rec also may or may not, based upon what happened at the Park City referendum, put their referendum on in the next election. And who knows what that's going to be? It's going to be placed on the ballot for it's going to be supported. It is based on based upon Parks and Municipal results. It doesn't look all that good. So I mean, as a school district, we have a foot in all those camps, in Parks and Municipal and in Base and Rec, in a greater community. I mean, that be more of an appetite for a joint project. This is the Parks and Municipal only project was identified as okay. Parks is paying for the project, but everything else is using for the schools project in that basin. So there's definitely a discussion that can be had there. But we'll have to feel out exactly where, and if somebody must be there, and that's something this would be.
Yeah, well, and now we're using the basin, I mean, high school teams are using basin right now, very regularly.
All the time at
I
the
mean,
field house.
every week right now, preparing for.
They all there across there, right?
So I would think there has to be some collaboration. Enjoying.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I just think it's like I think it's a tough ask to ask for this just to be a school project.
Yeah.
I mean, I really think
Sure.
it's kind of what Nick was alluding to in terms of, around about getting feedback. It's like the whole community wants more field space.
Yeah.
We need more field space for a number of reasons, for our teams, for, things like that, but we'll probably need more than 2 fields. I mean, we built, I think, 4 turf fields over my trail side, and they're always used,
Every club sport.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine we need at least these 2 plus indoor, plus, I would even say that the baseball should be like multi-purpose. So it could be used in fall too, and different things, right? But I mean, I have to think that it has to be sponsored by all 3 entities, or at least 2 of them, so that, like, it doesn't make sense for Base and Rec to put a bond out and then us to put another one out in 2 years. It should just be, you know, maybe we need to, we used to do those three-way meetings with the county and, like it probably stopped before COVID maybe, or during COVID. But I think it may make sense for us to rekindle that just to go over athletic facilities, right? And have, whether it's a public meeting or there's representatives from each board and staff, I think we need to start that again
This
because.
probably starts with that and then we go to the public
And then
and say, I think we need a pretty concrete proposal to take.
After their input, has informed.
You, I mean, do you guys, does anyone want to volunteer to be point on that and then we try to organize the meeting? We need two, like, we can only have two people, right, from each entity.
I don't know.
All right,
Right.
so maybe you guys and then, you know, if we can coordinate with Dias and, you know, with everyone else and just try to get that dialogue started and make it public, because I think it should be a community decision, regardless of who bonds for it. It doesn't really matter. It's kind of like, you know, we need, you know, because for us, we don't care about pickleball, but there's enough people who care about pickleball that they tried to do that bond in the city. So, I mean, maybe number one here has to be pickleball in order for this thing to work, right? Which isn't our priority, but it may be the community's priority.
Right, and they
Right.
have funded.
So, I think that's a good next step, right?
There was an election that suggests that wasn't the community's priority.
Well, right, but that's it, right? I mean, you know, if it's just
No, yeah.
pickleball, no one cares. We wouldn't care about just pickleball. You know, no one's gonna, you know, the only people who care about baseball are, you know, it's limited to schools and, you know, so, yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, awesome. We'll
Thank
talk
you.
about
This is
that.
great.
Absolutely,
Thanks.
appreciate the time.
Yeah, very comprehensive. Okay, we have next item. School fees. This is the preliminary fee schedule and spending plans on school fees. This is a discussion item on the first official look. So Randy.
Yeah, so, as you're aware, we have to by law approve, by board will approve fees for the next school year by April 1st, and it takes 2 hearings to go through that. So tonight we plan on having a hearing on that, if there's any public input. But yeah, the fee schedule before you, schools have looked at it, departments have looked at it. I've tried to bold those that have changed. There's some that are green that are new fees, and there are some that are red that have a pretty decrease, I think 1 or 2. And so overall, not a lot of change going forward into the next year. But there are a few programs that have changed, and some of the spend plans have been revamped to meet more of what's being done now as far as those activities. So be happy to entertain questions. I think groups that submitted fee changes are here, with the exception maybe Mr. Klein, who's over taking care of senior night with basketball. So, but I do have information on his questions. So.
Do you guys have any questions? I have some questions for this. Anything from the. All right, so I know that there. You know, a few years back, we looked at school fees in the lens of equity. And despite the fact that there is a waiver process, it was decided through student and teacher input as well that removing school fees would be removing academic school fees would be the proper course of action. And then we did that, and then the state kind of followed suit in setting parameters around academic fees. You know, I've definitely heard over the years about athletic fees as well, and the community has obviously taken up part of that through the RISE scholarship and some of the programs in the Community Foundation, which I think are really important. But you know, if you even just look at this, you know, the cost of athletics is you know, somewhat prohibitive to a lot of families. We had previous dialogue with Jamie about standardizing fees as well as other things related to sports such as banquets and other things that are exclusionary. And I think before we make a decision on this, for me at least, it would be helpful to see, okay, what's our total cost of athletics for the district? And, you know, maybe we still have a participation fee. But maybe it's a flat fee, right? And it's, you know, instead of $1,000 to play golf or, you know, $1,500 to be in the cheerleading team, you know, each kid pays 50 or $100 and then, you know, the district pays. I mean, I don't know. I think we've all had different experiences, but I wouldn't have been able to play sports if they didn't provide the equipment for me, you know, and I think it's, you know, for anyone who plays sports, it keeps you out of trouble. It gives you more discipline and focus. I mean, I'm a huge fan of students' success through athletics as well as academics. So, I mean, that's my view, is that we should at least explore how are we paying for this and who are we providing it to? And, you know, before we just kind of go through the motions again and raise everything.
Well, or if the decrease in like soccer is $25, it's still like 450, 475. I mean, it's a significant ask. And I think even to see that, and I would also like to see the proposal. I don't imagine it's not being well spent. I'm not suggesting that. I just think if we could have the numbers of what the same way I think you all went about the academics before the state required the no fees. What is the cost we're looking at? And I know it goes to I know some of it is experience with my own kids going through it, to uniforms and such, but they have to return. So some of it's not even that you're keeping all of what you get. And if it's returned, what is the 450? And if it's going to coaches or extra travel, like we need to look at our budget and have that be part of a different budget, perhaps. I consistently believe that asking any family to have to ask for a waiver is prohibitive right off the bat, even from wanting to try out. There's just probably not a lot of families that want to go. I mean, and I appreciate that there's I see on here like cheer increase because they're traveling to nationals. Maybe certain things are exempt from this fee, and then if there's extraordinary circumstances like that, there's a different fundraiser mechanism or grant application or something. I don't know how to go about that, but I would love to see, if I'm just looking at like the high school here on the one document, I think it's titled Annual School Fees Approval and Public Meeting. There's several documents in there. What that total cost is, I see that the soccer is decreased by 25, but what is then all of that under high school?
Yeah, so to answer a couple questions there, one is, Jamie has gone through, and towards your comment, President, Jamie has gone through and standardized the sports med at a $25 fee, if you've seen that in spend plans, and the awards and banquet at a $25 fee, trying to stabilize that between each activity. As far as cost, so if you go back to the prior year, we're not through a full year this year, we're anticipating to be between 1.4 and 1.5 million spent for all activities in the district. And this is including, junior high as well as the high school and the fees that are charged there. A year ago, we were at 1.3 million, the year before 1.2 million, so we're kind of right in that range with a little bit of increase each year.
That's the total cost, or that's the district cost?
Total cost is what's going on. So right now, that is what's in their activity funds, meaning that's not what the district pays. We have a separate district cost as far as transportation and coaches, which would be added to that, but.
So wait, sorry.
As far as what fees are covering.
Yeah.
As far as what fees are covering, we're anticipated this year to be around 1.4, maybe towards 1.5 million. A year ago in 23, it was at $1.3 million. Between everything that was collected and everything that was spent from a student activity fund standpoint.
And then what's the cost of the district on top of that?
That we're paying right now? Yeah, I can look that up.
I think, I mean, to Andrew's point, I mean, as I look through those numbers, you know, I understand that different activities cost different amounts of money. But to the kids participating, the value is the same. And I kind of have an issue with asking one kid to pay X thousands while another kid pays 100, 200, and another kid pays nothing because they can't. And I think we need to look at that overall and make this as accessible as we can.
Yeah, the one thing I'd add is, like, included in this is the food services.
Yeah. I noticed that.
I'm not opposed to raising the cost of, our meals and the inputs to our meals, and we recognize that there's inflation in raw materials, but again, I think, we were fortunate during COVID that we were able to give school food for free, due to, federal grants, but I also think if we're gonna look at athletics, again, we started with the academics and it's like, that's a no-brainer. Athletics to me is a no-brainer, but to others, debatable. But I would say food and nutrition is something that's essential and like, it would, and especially things like breakfast, like any kid that needs breakfast, I would love to see them have breakfast, right? Like, and not have to be going through a system where, again, like what's the incremental cost of having breakfast for every kid or for having lunch for every kid who wants it, right? And, we have a community where a lot of kids rely on the nutrition services that you provide, for their sustenance and nutrition, and we learned that the hard way through COVID. But I think it's an important lesson and, if we're really focused on academic outcomes and equity, these are the types of programs that I think make a huge difference in the community. I don't want a kid having to pay $1,000 to play baseball, especially if we're gonna go down the road in 3 or 5 years and make a baseball field that can only be used by kids who pay $1,500. It's kind of like crazy, when you zoom out and you look at it, it's like, whoa. And then the last thing I'd say, which I assume Jamie's done, but given the amount of costs for these sports, as Nick pointed out, I would hope that we're balanced in terms of Title IX. And, we probably have to look at that too when we're looking at building fields, that they can be used by women's teams and men's teams. And the same thing on these fees is that we're gonna subsidize fees or get rid of them, that at least the budgets are somewhat neutral, that they're in compliance with Title IX and we're not, I would guess they probably roughly are, or else we would have had a Title IX problem, but.
I think we know that, right? Girls soccer and boys soccer, that's priority in the field building. The girls are practicing on the floor, there's no bathroom. And then, like changing behind those, definitely no scoreboard, then changing behind trees. My daughters did it a few years ago. I think and yet are the costs for, sports. Hey, there might be some water up here. No, do you want water and?
Do we want to ensure that the opportunities that the kids currently have continue? Because I think that's some of it too, like some districts don't have the kids do nationals, they only do state. Our kids do nationals and they travel.
I think I want to see those numbers, like what is the cost? Like I think it would be great if we did it all. It'd be great if we added another soccer team or another.
Or we say, or we draw the line, we say, okay, we're gonna
But we need
pay
to see the
for.
numbers to make that decision.
Right, but we can also say, okay, we're gonna pay for the team to go to state
Yeah.
championships and everything up to that point.
Exactly.
And then if someone wants to go to a national
That's the addition.
competition, then you have to raise,
You raise
you
the
raise funds to the
Exactly.
club, you
Yeah.
know, and I think that's a fair way of doing it
Or
because,
here's a side of grants that they've founded, whatever that is.
yeah.
There's other
I mean,
avenues.
I'd love to see us set
Baseline,
precedent for the
me
rest of the
too.
state,
Me
too,
too.
just like we did
Me
with
too.
academic.
Me too. And to have this in conjunction with the priorities of increasing access by having more opportunities. It's not like, I would love, based on our last conversation when, Roger and Amy presented, what does that look like to add another team to some of these sports that are trying to be accessed by so many kids, you know, that are not able to even play on a team because we don't have the coach or we don't have the field fail, we don't have the practice or whatever.
And I'd love to see that
All that
incorporated into the athletic planning,
yeah,
right? Like if
absolutely.
we know that we have,
Yeah,
we need to have, we have a varsity, a
Four more
JV
teams,
and a
yeah.
freshman team for
Yeah.
soccer and lacrosse and all those. Okay, how many fields do we need?
yeah.
You know, I think that's, you know, it's all
Not the
important.
design. Mhm.
So what's our schedule now? Do we have a hearing
So we have a hearing next month as well.
next month? And
Gotta
then
be
we-
adopted next month to meet the
Do
April.
we do a
deadline.
hearing tonight as well?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll do a hearing
It's on
when we
the
close.
agenda.
Okay.
And then district resources, just to answer your question from earlier, district resources, we're putting in 800,000 right now between buses and coaches.
So 800,000 district, 1.4 to 1.5
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
cost.
And a piece of that is planned.
This is 2.3.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
part of that is fundraising, which right now the state has fundraising as part of fees. There is a bill in the legislature that's proposing to take fundraising out of fees. So you can fundraise in addition to whatever fees you set, so that you're not hampered by that. So we'll see where that ends up, but we certainly can bring you information by activity. What they're
Great.
spending, what's being collected by each
Yeah.
activity if you'd like,
Mhm.
whatever case that is, so.
Okay,
And I will say I have been in a district before previously where state, for example, the schools took care of the region play for athletics. But if somebody went to state, whether it was academic or athletic, then the district would pick up that cost. To pay busing or hotel or whatever the cost was, and then they would fundraise for the national, is basically how that occurred, so.
Seems to make sense to me.
Kind of to the conversation that we're talking about having with city and county for our fields and where we wanna go with that. I'm also thinking about the Youth Sports Alliance, the Solomon Foundation, SOS. I mean, they kind of, some of it's more winter sports focused, but they all care about creating equity and accessing athletic opportunities for kids in this community, so maybe have some conversations with them as well.
Okay, any other questions or discussion on the piece? Okay, all right, we will move to public comment. Regular public comment, do we have any regular public comment? No, okay. So we have just, are we required?
Chris, you can come fill this. Hi, Chris.
Sorry.
Yeah. I know you. Just a quick.
And then, Randy, are we doing a public comment?
Is this a general public comment or just something?
Yeah, this is general public comment. Yeah, go ahead.
Chris Campbell, I just wanted to, and I'm sorry, I missed all the other stuff, so it's been covered. But with the HB 257 bill that just was, became law, and just want to encourage you to think about how to keep, people safe in the facilities in school districts. As you're looking at building new facilities, how can you create gender inclusive spaces where everybody feels, safe and like they have private spaces they can use. I know as a trans man myself, I'm gonna be going over to the Eccles for my daughter's concert later today. I am now required to use the women's restroom. And so, which makes me uncomfortable, which will likely make, everybody else in that restroom uncomfortable if I need to use it. Or I can wander the halls and see if I can find, use of the space. So, I would just really encourage you to recognize that there are other people like myself who are struggling to figure out how to protect their privacy when we go in that space, and explain why I'm in that room, right, and I have to explain why I'm in that room and expose some details about myself that I'd rather not share with people. So we can find ways to help everybody in the district feel safe in their spaces. And just really build that gender inclusive. I'm also with the, I should say, with the Park City LGBTQ task force, and we're happy to sit down and have a conversation if that's helpful about the things that we think are worth considering as you're looking at new facilities and facilities.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Chris.
Appreciate your comment. Randy, on the school piece, do we do a separate public comment or do we close this meeting and have a hearing?
No, you can just say, you just do it during the meeting.
Okay, all right,
Have
so
a
we'll.
hearing, but the designated time is for that.
Okay, all right, we will open, the public hearing for school fees now. And do we have any public comment on school fees? All here. No, okay, no public comment on school fees, so we'll close that hearing. And then I will entertain a motion, to adjourn until our next regularly scheduled meeting, which is the 12th? 19th of March at 4 p.m.
I'll make a motion to close until March 19th at 4 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, meeting is adjourned.
Want to switch to the- She's not. Or.